This is not meant to sound hyperbolic. My cup runneth over.
So Larry, welcome.
Thank you.
We're here to talk today about what you built. But before we get into that, I do want to go back in time. You were big corporate America upbringing, if I'm not mistaken. Can you take me back into what a day in your life looked like working big corporate North America?
Sure. So 3 organizations over 17 years. First one doesn't really exist anymore, Yellow Pages. So I worked in places that are usually downtown Toronto. We lived in the outskirts, so up at 5:30, take the drive in, working late, coming home at 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. Had a fair degree of success. I had, with that organization, 8 positions in 12 years. And then moved into, left them for Pitney Bowes and Pitney Bowes Management Services, which is a managed services organization. And that was, again, same type of thing, except I was able to work from home for the Pitney Bowes Management Services. So that was kind of interesting, and I didn't mind it at all. Got a lot. It was productive because I wasn't doing the traffic, I wasn't windshield timing it as much. And then moved into a company called Grand & Toy. On the commercial side is a director for Ontario and Atlantic Canada, and had some really cool folks I worked with there, and longer hours as well. I wasn't going to be... was the higher up I went, the more I realized I need to be there for my team and clients. So that's kind of a nutshell.
Right. So when you were working at Grand & Toy, for example, your day would be commuting into the office, and then what would happen?
The business development team that I was responsible for I'd be working with them to help them business develop for commercial businesses. So Fortune 500s in Canada, Fortune 500 in North America, to help them secure office supply contracts with those companies and support them in that initiative. So IBM was, for example, is one of the clients we worked with.
And how would you support them? How did that show up in your day-to-day?
So we want to be there for the client. So we want to be in contact with them on a regular basis. So the people that reported to me, we had a cadence in terms of keeping in touch with the client and making sure that we were front and center. We understood what their needs were. And when we had an opportunity to bid, because usually these were 1 year or 2 year contracts, multi-million-dollar contracts. And so we wanted to be front and center when they were ready to look for new opportunities and seek other players.
Yeah, it sounds important. It sounds fulfilling, and it sounds like you were performing very well.
We did okay, but the other thing too, but some industries are on the incline, some industries are stable, and some industries are on the decline. And so Yellow Pages, when I departed, was on the decline, and that office supply world was also on the decline when I departed. So we did okay. We held our own, but it was a difficult industry to be in at the time.
That's a snapshot of what a day in the life of that business looked like. What was a day in your life looking like at that? When you went home, were you excited? Did you have energy left over? Were you sapped? How did you feel at the end of the day?
Very, very excited to be getting home and spending time with my wife and our kids. So at the youngest age, I recall walking into the house, and we had a house in Uxbridge at the time, or in Pickering Village. And Josh, our youngest, he crawled to the front door, and I'd pick him up and give him big hugs, and then I'd put my suit jacket or suit coat on him, and he was just swimming in it. So and then I put him on the bed and play with him, and then when our daughters Shannon and Claire came into our lives, Deb and I divided and conquered with the kids. We had some fun, lots of fun with them, and yeah, they were great years.
I'm glad you made the most of it. That's a common concern, especially in big corporate, is you leave everything at the office.
Guilty as charged. There are lots of those occasions too. Yeah, so I didn't have the presence of mind now that I did. That then I didn't have it. But where am I going to spend my energy? So I was quite driven to make a mark in each organization, and so that I'm not suggesting that I always had gas in the tank. I'm suggesting that it was something that I was looking forward to getting home. But those were longer hours, and Deb and I had decided that we would be a couple that where I would be the major breadwinner, which Deb was fine with and I was fine with. So that has certain costs to it.
Sure, roles and expectations, and when you have to provide, you have to provide.
Right.
Also sounds like you were driven from maybe a different place. I don't know many people who go through multiple big corporate careers with multiple stages in each that don't have some kind of hunger in them. Would you describe yourself as hungry?
There was a fire in my belly for sure, and the more I was exposed to corporate North America, the more I realized that I wasn't fitting in. The further up the chain I went, I was not feeling like I was fitting in anymore. And paradoxically, I was also feeling like I had less and less of a say, and that the corporate head offices had more of the say. Like it was like, here's how things are going to go, and you can follow along and toe the line or not. It's okay. And so I figured I wanted to have certainly continue to have a say. I didn't have to have the say, but I wanted to have a say. And so paradoxically, I had less and less of that and more interest in venturing out on my own.
I think the closer you get to the top, the more the top digs in its influence and expectations on you. For somebody with a fire in their belly, I can tell that would be hard to reconcile.
It became more and more difficult to reconcile. I wasn't being true to myself, and I had this level of uncomfort that just wasn't a fit anymore. It worked beautifully when it worked, and the older I got, as approaching late 30s and early like 40, 41, I thought, okay, this is time for a change. If I'm going to do anything, I need to do it now.
Can you go back in time and describe what that discomfort was? Like where it showed up? Did it show up outside of yourself and any of your interactions? What did that feel like?
I was typical in the sense that who wants to acknowledge their feelings, first of all, and or share them. So I can describe it now as resentment for the way that things were run, generally speaking. I could describe it as pulling back, not being as interested in being the guy or having to impress anyone anymore, and realizing that this wasn't my stream anymore. So I'm not sure what to call that, but there was, I wouldn't say anger, but there was some sadness as well in terms of, okay, this run is over and I need to now do something different. So, and some scared as well, I would say now, because, okay, dude, you really want to play in this game of doing your own thing? Then all right, strap yourself in, because you don't know what you don't know. But I believe I had enough faith in me to pull it off.
Sure, you would have stacked skills over that 17 years, I believe you said it was.
Yeah.
Stacked enough skills to be able to have some confidence and at least a compass bearing.
For sure.
But it takes more than that, doesn't it? Knowing what direction, you still need to know how to hoist the sails. Where did you find that from? Was that from within or external support?
Both, I would say. Deb was very supportive of all. There were 3 different moves throughout, or almost internationally as well. India, Bahrain were like this close to both of those, moving there from Toronto. But we moved to Thunder Bay. They said, in Yellow Pages, are you mobile anywhere in the world, and or specific geographic areas? And I said, checked off every time. And I checked with Deb, are you okay if I put anywhere in the world? We had 3 young kids, and so Deb, to her credit, God love her, she said yes to each one of those. Larry, you said yes, and so we've got an opportunity in Thunder Bay as director of that operation. Looks after the Arctic and Northwest Ontario and Sault Ste. Marie, Sudbury, North Bay, Nunavut, York, Yukon, in Northwest Territory. So that in Thunder Bay. So that, okay, let's go and learn. So that was the internal support, knowing that I had a wife who was very supportive. And there were occasions at each of the 3 companies I worked with where I was exposed to either trainers or coaches, either personal or for training as a group. And I thought, they're good. These folks were good. Some of them were really good, and others were, there's some things that I said to myself, I'm not just good, I could do this, because it's a lot of us could do things, but it's like, I want to do this. I recall back then is thinking, okay, dude, what are you going to be doing next? If you're tapping out of this and turning another chapter over and creating another chapter, what's that going to look like? So What Color's Your Parachute was a book that was quite common back then, which is, what do you want to do? What's next for you? And I should always know that. I said to myself, I should always know what I want to do next. So What Color's My Parachute was thinking back on occasions where I was exposed to coaching and or training, whether it be individual or for teams again. And I thought, this appeals to me, and I could do this. I could do this really well. And I have the confidence and ability. So you can only look back and think of those occasions, because in the moment you're not really thinking, hey, I could do this, but just think in the moment there's a tweak there in your gut and think in your brain thinking, wow, okay. And then another occasion happens a year later. And then I started to become the person who was doing training and or coaching for organizations on occasion. So, and or hiring those folks. So I had a really good feel for it, and I tested the waters beforehand to get even more confident. So I was listening to Jay Shetty this morning in the Calm app, and he was talking about taking like big leaps versus small steps. And when he became a monk, people would say, wow, that's such a big leap. I can't believe you did that. And he said, actually, it wasn't. For 2 or 3 years before he made the big leap, he had exposed himself to that life and what that would be like in small increments. So by the time he made the big leap, it looked really big to you and I. But for him, it was, no, I'm ready for this.
He'd already acclimated.
He had, and manifested it and said, okay, I'm ready for this. So that's kind of how I felt about my change.
You had some inspiration through these trainers that were coming through your workplace. Either you were hiring them or participating with them. And then you dipped your toe in the water by taking opportunities and making opportunities within your workplace.
Yes.
To test this. So then the idea was, I can do this. Let me guess, you went straight into it and you launched the next day.
Yeah, I like your facetiousness there. Absolutely not. I mean, you talk about a day in the life. So I had lots of windshield or travel time. So I'm going to cassette. So think Brian Tracy and other motivational speakers. Yellow Pages, to their credit, had a library of motivational speakers. And I ate that stuff up. So that when I was driving, I would plug in the cassette. There's dating myself, and listen to Brian Tracy and listen to other people speak and expanding one's vocabulary. So that just, those things just add up and add up and add up. But in the moment, you're just thinking, I really enjoy this. I'm really enjoying listening to this. You don't know what you're going to learn from it other than to be a better person in that moment, or a better leader, or a better dad, or a better communicator.
But really, you're still skill stacking at this point.
Yeah.
You're just layering in more and more curriculum into a repertoire that you can pull from whenever you need it.
And you never know when you're going to need it or if you're going to use it. But holy smokes, it's amazing.
These opportunities that a lot of people work towards, high-profile job in big corporate, getting promotions and raises,
chasing titles.
Moves. You're being praised and validated. You have a supportive family. You have the dream, but still something felt missing.
Mm-hmm. And it was just incremental over time as the more advancement I had, and the more I realized that this really isn't fulfilling me anymore. It totally did, until it didn't. And it wasn't a split second. It didn't. It was incremental over 2 or 3 years. I'd say, 2 or 3 years.
Okay, so that's a long period of time when you're living it. I mean, there are people that are going to be watching this episode who are in the middle of a year of something doesn't feel right at the job that I'm in, and we're going to talk to them later. But I want to really make sure we identify how you were feeling, because there's somebody out there that needs to hear your story of, I had everything, but it wasn't aligned exactly with who I am, who I was, and who I wanted to become. Think back to a moment where you had a conversation maybe with Deb and said, this isn't it, and I need to explore another option. Was there an aha moment that you can remember?
I think it was a series of discussions, and what that would mean for us, the uncertainty of that change and transition for as a 41-year-old Deb worked as well. There were many occasions where Deb was employed, but that, there'd be times we wouldn't have income, or I didn't know what the income would look like. So I'm not sure I'm fully answering your question, but
it's okay.
There was uncertainty for sure, and trepidation and holy crap moments. Yeah.
So you built up this repertoire influence, listening in on the motivational tapes and attending training, and thought to yourself, I want to be a trainer, and that's going to fulfill me. Is that the thought process?
I'd like to go, yes, and I want to venture on my own. So I want to be training, coaching, consulting, and I want to do it on my terms. Was what kind of I led myself to that, but over time it wasn't obvious. So the 2 to 3 years, there's enough. When the student is ready, the teacher will appear, and so the student wasn't ready necessarily in year one of the uncomfort and the level of lack of alignment. It just incrementally grew to occasions where it's like, yeah, this really isn't my gig anymore.
To a point where there was a tipping point where you decided to leave.
Yes.
And how did that conversation go?
It was an interesting situation. So remember I talked about some industries and companies are on the incline and some are stable and some are on the decline. This is a situation with the last organization where they were on the decline and it was obvious. And so my boss during my performance review said to me, "Hey, Larry, we're going to be stripping you of $30,000 of your base income for the next year." And so in that moment, so that was a big kicker for me to help me with the aha moment. So I said to myself before so this is the self-talk, the automatic thoughts were, no, you're not. That's not going to happen. And I've got a choice in this. And so what I said to him in this tone and this delivery was that that's not going to happen. And I used the person's name and said, I won't leave you high and dry. I'll see if I can replace myself as quickly as possible, but that's not going to happen. And that was it. That was the conversation. I felt I responded appropriately with the right amount of emotion and integrity and energy, that he got my message and that I wasn't going to leave him high and dry. And that wasn't my job to replace myself, but I felt compelled because this is a good human being who also I could see was not enjoying his job at all, and was likely exiting very shortly himself. So that just helped me. That was like, okay, now that I said that, I know what I'm expecting. And so that's one more reason for me to start to do the next thing on my own.
In that moment, you would have had a clear choice between polishing up the resume. Well, I guess either taking the situation, polishing the resume, and looking for the next lateral or promotional move to another company.
For sure.
But you realized in yourself that you wanted to do it your way.
Mm-hmm.
And
the clock was ticking. That was 41.
Right. So it put you on notice and you responded.
And I put me on notice too. Okay, Larry, let's go.
That's powerful. How'd you respond to that? How'd you wake up the next day?
There's some holy smokes moments like, okay, dude, you just played that card. And there's also a feeling of, it's not going to sound weird, a feeling of comfort or satisfaction or relief that I don't have to play in this space anymore. And I don't know what I don't know about that space yet, but I know that space is where I want to go. And I will figure things out.
So what was the first real step after you exit the company, knowing that you want to head in this direction? How do you build your blocks? Do you get really strategic, or do you dive right in and fill the pool with water as you're on the way down? How did that play out for you?
So I would say before that last conversation, that performance review, I had already started to put feelers out about what this would look like and who can I speak with, because what I wanted to do is, opposed to going out on my own directly right away, I thought I ended up finding out about you being an expert, you being whoever you happen to be in that moment, being an expert in that field. It happened to be sales training, and which has grown into so much more over the last 20 years. And so I got an introduction to you, floated by what I'd like to do, and this person was in the same boat, working for a large corporate North America, and they chose to go on their own for the exact same reasons. And so there was support there. And I'll mention the name is Steve White from Effectivation. And Steve was a great mentor and supported me, and was with him in Effectivation as a partner and instructor for probably 5-6 years, and then got my own chops and thought, okay, it's time to get your plane up in the air and go on your own. So I did, but I ventured out, testing the waters with someone else to see, do I really want this? But before I had that last meeting was something I was looking at. Okay, what's this going to look like? Because I don't want to be at a standing start. I want to be at a walking start before I venture on my own.
Right. So you partner up with somebody in a joint venture or associated member capacity,
Yeah.
and learn the ropes.
Mm-hmm. get in front of people, go earn business, go. So it wasn't like him bankrolling me. This is going to be a bit of a crude term, but we ate what we killed. So if I brought something in, then I got a bigger piece of the pie. If he said, hey, Larry, I need your help to co-deliver this, then it was a smaller piece of the pie, but it's all learning your chops. It's all learning your chops.
Right.
Getting in front of clients and seeing if you like it and see how you deliver, see how more importantly, seeing how you're received. And that was important to me.
And how are you received?
Well, on average, well. To the point where my expectation now, people say, hey, how did that go? Like training, coaching, consulting, how did that go? My floor, and this is not meant to sound anything other than just being accurate, my floor expectation is a 9 on 10. And that's my floor. In terms of how the workshop went, what needs to be improved, the delivery, the content, the pace, all of it. And it's always met.
So now Center Performance offers, you mentioned sales training. And workshops. What other topics do you cover?
So if you think parent-child relationship, so for example, the parents would be the following areas, and the children would be the programs that are training or coaching associated with that. So centered leadership. So there's multiple leadership categories: centered sales, centered service, and then centered advisory. So there are probably a combination, if you added those children up that are associated with those parents as the key topics, I would say 40 different areas. 40 different areas.
When you think back to the leaders that you grew up under, what lessons are you taking from them in how not to lead today in your own company?
Just be open and be humble, and not trying to be the smartest person in the room, and seek out people that are smarter than you, and have the right purpose. So our purpose, if you say, hey, Larry, what's your purpose for Horizon Bridge 5 or Craft Pro? Our answer would be not, hey, Jeff, our goal is to make $3 million each in the next 5 years, in the next 2 years. We will generate income and generate money as a result of this, but our job, what we care about, is helping clients achieve their goals, and so does Center Performance. That's really the focus. So the purpose has to be right, and the people that you are associating yourself with, they need to have the right alignment as well, which I'm putting my hands up, because if I metaphorically showed you the pinch marks on my body where I get to work with these individuals, it's just off the charts. It's off the charts. And so we're aligned. So look for that. Look for that. I would encourage people to find the people that you are aligned with.
And if you contrast how you were feeling in the later days of Grand and Toy, or even anywhere in your corporate journey, to how you're feeling today, you mentioned then being misaligned or something missing. How are you feeling today, now that you have the thing you chased after? Has it filled the void?
This is not meant to sound hyperbolic. My cup runneth over in terms of the privilege of doing what I do, and who I do it with, and who I do it for, and who we do it with, and who we do it for. I'm feeling very blessed, very, very grateful. If you said to me a couple of years ago, even Jeff, I only met you for, 3 months, 2 months, would I be in this position today to be able to say that to you? It's not obvious, because there are a lot of challenges to, and I have the privilege of, there are about 13 people within Center Performance, and about probably 13 people within Horizon Bridge and Craft Pros that we interact with. And that just doesn't happen overnight. And so you have to be very careful who you're working with and who you partner with. LaFair Associates has partnered with Center Performance for 12 years. They're just awesome folks. And Montana Consulting, Salesforce Training. These are great partners, but never have they had their hands out after, hey, Larry, can you look after this client? Yeah, sure. And I would do the same for them, but there's never I've done this for you. What are you doing for us lately? That's why we have had over 20 years. That's why I've only got 3 of those folks, because they're just awesome to work with and partner with. So I feel very blessed with that, and the folks that I'm privileged to be partners with.
So if you can go back in time, and this is the part where I mentioned there might be some people watching whose story aligns with your old story. They're in the wrong place. If you can go back and talk to yourself, maybe earlier on in your journey when things first started feeling misaligned, and give yourself some advice from today, what would that be?
Don't wait as long as you did. You can do this. Nothing can take the place of experience, so make sure you get experience. Find people who are aligned. find your path. You don't have to do it on your own at first. There can be people you can help, but they can help you, and you can help them in the best interest of helping each other, not selfishly. This can't be at all this can't be me spelling my name with 5 I's, with me being selfish going in. It has to be me wanting to help the partner as well as the clients. And you can do this. And Lara, get ready for hard work. You got to put in the work, man. You're going to have to continue to put the work in. There is no easy street to this.
Is it worth it?
100%. 100%.
You said it all. Thank you. I really appreciate you sharing your story, taking the time with us today, and
Thank you, Jeff, for doing this.
There is real inspiration on the other side of the set, seeing someone who's gone through the dream, pushed past the dream, and achieved happiness. So congratulations.
Thank you, and I appreciate what you're doing here. I think it's awesome, and I am still that person that may be watching this. I'm still that person, and I certainly was 20 years ago.
Thanks so much for being here.
My pleasure. Thank you.
I just went from a very productive person to the most unproductive, depressed human, just playing video games and trying not to swallow bottle pills or take my own life.